This is not good. Worlds are colliding.
We were smart enough to not say, Houston, there's a light out there that's following us.
And what the hell is that? You know, what is that? And I couldn't even talk. I was just amazed at what I was seeing.
This is the Beast of the Week podcast.
Let's get in that funny juice.
Give me the funny juice. Oh, daddy. Ooh, give me the funny juice.
Get funny, Toria. Toria, get funny with it.
Oh,
Toria,
the funny
Toria,
juice
come on.
all over my
Toria.
face. Ropes
Toria,
of funny
get-
juice shooting out. Oh,
Toria, get funny
all
with me.
over.
I hate
funny.
this
Funny.
so much.
Come on, let's get jokes.
And welcome to another episode of the Beast of the Week podcast. I'm John Cannon.
I'm Joe McClinchy.
I'm Sam Harris.
And I'm Toria Ainsworth, and I'm horrified.
And Toria doesn't have the funny juice flowing.
No
What's
funny
new?
juice. She's a dried funny fruit.
Funny juice is amazing.
The rest of us, we're all like some funny dates. When's the dried one?
That's dates.
No,
okay.
dates are not the dried ones.
Dates are dried. No, prunes are dried.
Prunes are dried.
Prunes are dried. Yeah, you're a funny prune. The rest of us are hilarious little dates. Fill me up with goat cheese. I'm a delicious snack.
I can't stop thinking about Fig Newtons, and they have nothing to do with this.
I get why, though.
But,
And
like-
I can't tell you why, but I
It's
understand
like
why
dates
you're on that
and
wave.
Figs.
Yeah, dates and figs are like the same thing.
They're like in the same family.
They're both ball sack fruits. And,
They are.
Yeah.
which I think are called droops. But
I don't know if
if-
you're making that up.
I believe you.
not particularly. There is a fruit that's
Not
called a droop.
particularly making it up.
Yeah, a droop is a fruit, but it's not. I don't think it's figs, or it could be dates. But I remember like back in fucking kindergarten and shit, I always had Fig Newtons in my like lunchbox. I never ate them. They were the worst.
I love Fig Newtons.
I
you
fucking
serious?
hate Fig Newtons. Oh,
I did enjoy fig.
they're so
Newtons when I was little.
crumbly and
I know. You have
I
a
know-
little
well-
bit of tea and you have yourself a little 80-year-old day.
Named after Newton, the town of Newton, actually.
That's right.
Just next door to us, actually.
It's like the Charleston Chew.
Yeah, it's just like the Charleston.
both bad.
Charleston
What-
Chew.
what-
Fuck off, Sam.
What is up with New
All right.
England?
I
and,
gotta
like,
agree with Sam on this
no,
one.
what is up with like New England and not understanding how sweet things work? We have Moxie, Charlton Chews, and Fig Newtons. These are all bad.
Joe,
I don't have a problem with any of those.
Those I
really
enjoy
like
all of those.
You
in
like
moderate
Moxie?
amounts.
Yeah.
Ew.
I thought Moxie was terrible, but if you're friends with John, there was a lot of Moxie.
All right, we're off on New England snacks here. Tonight we're not anywhere close to New England because we are talking about what
China.
is known. No, still
No.
a little too far east from us. A little too
Damn.
far east.
Overshot it.
Oh, regular England.
No. We are talking about the Tatzelwurm.
Home of the schnitzel.
I'm gonna kill all of you.
The Tatzo fam? Tell me more about this fam.
Ooh, it's a Tatzelwurm, darling.
The
The
Tatzelwurm.
vermin supreme. Tell me more.
I'm gonna pronounce it like that the whole time, just because that's technically the correct
technically, that's
pronunciation,
how you
The
do it.
and it's
Tatzelwurm.
way more fun.
I mean, yeah.
The Tatzelwurm is a creature of Alpine folk legend. Now, different regions have their own names, descriptions, stories regarding the beast, but they all have certain similarities. It's basically a mysterious lizard, snake, vaguely reptilian thing with a blunt, cat-like head. Now, I'm not saying it has a cat's head, but one could look at it and say, all right, I see a cat in that.
I see a cat in that.
And it's the reason it gets so varied is because this is a very old legend. But we'll get into that. They are very aggressive, dangerous, and should be avoided if encountered. Now, stories of the Tatzelwurm range centuries. Some say the story influenced European dragon lore. Others say that dragon sightings into the 17th century in Europe were actually the Tatzelwurm itself. And since then,
Tatzo fam.
the Tatzelwurm. I feel like I gotta pronounce it like I'm trying to, like,
Fuck it.
Seduce it.
I'm at a bar and I'm like, What do you do for work?
The
The Tatzelwurm. Didn't say I was good at it.
That's what you do for work?
Yeah.
You're breaking down the sexiness onto this Tatzelwurm. You're just like, it's cryptid. It's cryptid time.
I mean, that's basically...
I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say it's time for cryptids. It's cryptid time. Oh,
That was a great reference. Top fucking notch.
I love that.
And that's basically what it looks like if I'm trying to pick someone up. It's like, hey, what do you do? I host a podcast. You know Bigfoot? I talk about Bigfoot.
The Tatzelwurm, darling.
We've never talked about Bigfoot.
Yeah, we're getting there, folks. That's a big endeavor.
We're avoiding Bigfoot.
We're avoiding Bigfoot like you try to avoid the what are we discussion at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Sightings have significantly dwindled since the 60s, though they haven't stopped entirely.
As they never do.
The Tatzelwurm, with its pronunciation, it lives in the Alps. Think Germany, Sweden.
The Tatzelwurm, you know, the way you say it.
Yeah, the pronunciation. It's got a Germanic pronunciation.
With its
That's
name.
true. Yeah.
Switzerland, Germany.
Why has it got a U?
What are you talking about? A U. That's how you spell it.
Tatzelwurm?
Why didn't it be what? Oh, I'm thinking English, like the Y.
Yeah, you're thinking Old English.
Oh, yeah.
No, this is a relatively modern spelling, all things considered. And
Suspicious.
Sure, why not? Why not? You know, you didn't read my notes yet, so why not?
I try to go into it with a clear mind.
I respect that. You're a shark. You got a future in this organization.
You're a shark. I like that.
The Tatzelwurm lives in the Alps, particularly in the rocky areas, which I don't know the Alps. It might be all of them. But it has a favorite altitude
Probably.
between 1,600. There's got to be some meadows, though. Think
No,
about.
I mean,
the hills
when you have
alive.
mountains, there's stuff in between the mountains, which
Yeah.
has to be a valley or like
But it could be rocky
meadow.
still.
It could also be rocky.
Let's just say there's at least a couple rocky regions in the Alps.
We can all agree it's probably not the best for growing crops.
At least one. There's at least one rock in all of the
Yes.
Alps.
And it
Yeah.
seems to prefer altitudes between 1,600 and 7,200 feet.
Those are great altitudes.
He's ready for some fucking skiing, but I really should have looked into this. I don't know the base level of heights not in the Alps, but that seems pretty high.
Yeah. Those are bigger numbers, yeah.
Like technically here in Boston, we live a little below sea level.
Where we are sitting right now.
That dirty water.
It'll kill you.
Boston, you're
Digging
my
in a
home.
sewer.
Go Sox.
But as I meant, yeah, there's no regional name for the Tatzelwurm in Boston. I think it's Tatzelwurm.
Hey, cheetah. Hey, cheetah.
It's Tatzelwurm. Hey,
Fucking
Tatzelwurm.
I don't think you've ever heard a
Tatzelwurm.
Boston accent, Tori.
No. You see. Come with my boys. We all go down to Saudi. We
Saudi?
don't call it the Tatzelwurm.
Like Saudi Arabia?
Saudi. No, Saudi.
That's no.
Don't say it's Saudi.
No.
It's Saudi.
That's not.
Sam, no.
No, fuck.
Tori,
I mean, yes, and
the regions,
Just-
the stories of this cryptid come from, do change the names of it.
I had a good joke.
It wasn't that good. The premise was flawed.
I was gonna call it the Green Line.
Oh! You don't fucking live here. You don't get to talk.
Fine, it's the Orange Line.
Well, fair.
that's okay. Yeah, that's probably more like it.
That's a worm.
That is a word.
No, you're not wrong.
Toria, will you tell us the regional names for this fat bitch?
The Tatzelwurm goes by many names in many different regions. Starting off in Switzerland, it is known as the Stollenwurm. In Germany, as we have said, it is known by a couple of names. The Tatzelwurm, the Dazzlewurm,
I like the glam worm.
the Hawkwurm, and the Pretzelwurm. Sounds delicious.
They walked in on it doing yoga, and they're like, Tatzelwurm.
And then they walked in on it just being fabulous. The Tatzelwurm.
Tatzelwurm.
I want when I'm like feeling good, I'm going out for the night. I want someone to be like, "Ooh, that's Tatzelwurm."
You ever notice there's only two ways to make a German accent? And it's either Das Tatzelwurm or Das Tatzelwurm.
I like how there's like a Wetzel's Pretzelwurm.
Wetzel's Pretzelwurm. That's its scientific
Wetzel's
name.
Pretzelwurm.
However, continuing on from Germany, we have in France, it goes by the Arasis.
I can't even say.
Un Arasis.
The spelling of French doesn't matter in the first place, so this could be called like Tim or something.
Honestly, that's very true.
I think they only have consonants, so it's really called like the Urs.
Honestly, that's actually way more menacing. I would be afraid of the Urs.
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 I love what the Italians call this bad boy. They call him the Spaghetti Man. Which is, I think, is the progenitor to the delicious pasta we all enjoy.
The Italians actually don't have a specific name on record
So why is it even mentioned?
because they have seen them in Italy.
Oh, because of the Alps?
Linguini serpentis.
because
Linguini
I like that one,
serpentis.
Linguini
Yes.
serpentis.
That's a good name, honestly. We're going to call it the Linguini serpentis. You just fixed hundreds of years of a folklore gap.
here come the Italian views. Let's
Yeah, I
go.
love it.
Woohoo!
Down in Austria,
Is that down?
Up, that's up. up in Austria.
it is known as the Lindwem, the Springwem, and the Begstutz.
Big Stutz.
Big Stutz.
Begstutz.
What do you
Hey,
like?
hey,
I love
hey.
Big Stutz.
Big Stutz.
And I cannot lie.
I like big Stutz and I cannot lie.
Incredible. It has been seen in Poland, but similarly to Italy, there are no regional names that are found.
Yeah, they're not really sure what side they're on whether it's real or not.
So,
Yeah.
Well, it's not so much that Polish people saw it, it's that someone saw it in Poland.
yeah, but that's not
Gotcha.
the Alps.
It's kind of like being like, man, these people from Japan saw Bigfoot, but they don't have their own name for it, so I guess they didn't see it.
I guarantee you there's a Japanese Bigfoot.
I mean, there's a Bigfoot in every continent, at least. So, we're gonna do this a little different than we have in the past, because this thing goes back hundreds of years, and it's kind of difficult to get hundreds of years in different areas to say exactly the same. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna break down the agreed upon, across the board. It's either several stories have this and corroborate it, or it's not directly challenged by other ones.
So it's more like the most often occurring ones.
Or at least not directly but this other version has the opposite of that.
It makes sense when you have something of folklore
Yeah,
over hundreds of years.
absolutely.
It's not the best way to keep something
It's not very
consistent.
yeah.
No, but I mean, it could, as all things in the show could be, it could be misidentified animal, or just people are just really garbage at remembering things, which is true. Your memory sucks, especially in instances like this, where you see
Also,
something
never
kind of
forget.
shocking.
Eyewitness accounts are worth nothing. Stop it.
True.
Except with cryptids.
So the agreed upon description of the Tatzelwurm is that it ranges greatly in length. So it ranges from really bad basketball player to really good basketball player. In that, I mean from 1 foot to 7 feet in length.
I will say it's possible we're talking about a young one.
I have another hypothesis.
Let's hear it.
As to why there's such a discrepancy in length.
Okay.
Is it possible that only weathermen saw the Tatzelwurm? And they just weren't sure. They were like, could be 1 foot, could be 7. I really don't know. I don't know the difference.
Holy shit, that was some clean water cooler comedy.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Surprised.
That was impressive. I didn't know we were capable of that.
Let's bring it back. Hey, let's bring it back. So this thing has a girth of about 3 inches.
Is that enough?
No, that's really not girthy at all.
It's not meaty.
There's so many things I want to say right now, but I can't
Why?
because my brain is full of so many jokes that are
Say them
inappropriate.
all.
Keep it PG. We got to pepper in the PG-13.
What I'm saying is this thing isn't super girthy, but it can be between 1 and 7 feet in length.
So it might not open the door all the way, but it'll get inside.
It does its fair share.
It'll get past the foyer.
It will definitely get past the foyer, so to speak.
With a hot dog like that, you could call the Tatzelwurm the hallway. It's really just general.
Its coloration is whitish or light brown on its back, but is lighter colored underbelly.
Sharks are kind of like
So
that.
yeah,
That's like camouflage.
I was gonna say it's like
basically.
most creatures.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like almost every
Yeah,
creature.
Yep.
It's like me in the summer too, because
standard.
I just always lay on my stomach.
I just got a permanent farmer's tan.
That's almost the same thing, I guess. It has, like we mentioned before, a blunt cat-like head with large
Adorable.
eyes that have a piercing glare.
Is this my cat?
Could be.
I think it is. I think your cat might just be a cryptid.
Crowley's back, everybody.
You guys who follow us on Instagram, you've seen Crowley. I think he's a little Tatzelwurm.
I think he could be a little Tatzelwurm. Well, he does have a wide mouth full of sharp teeth, and he
No,
doesn't
his-
have. He
his
does
tail
not
is-
have a short, thick tail like the Tatzelwurm.
Yeah, his tail is long and fluffy.
He's got a long, fluffy
I love
tail.
my cat.
You got a good cat,
Top cat.
top cat.
Excellent
Anyway, so
familiar.
this thing has like, I guess the agreed upon. It's almost like agree to disagree. In this case,
Yeah.
like the range of it is like between like in length, the girth of it. I don't know. It just seems a little up in the air.
Well, we'll be getting into the debates over this thing shortly.
Oh, we'll debate it.
But along with the appearance, there's some behaviors and attributes that are generally agreed upon as well.
The agreed upon behavior of the Tatzelwurm, much like the size, it varies from story to story. But in general, it is active during stormy weather, after humidity or heat, when the weather is changing rapidly. So it's almost kind of like a. Do they have tornadoes in Europe?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Not flat enough. I don't think.
I mean,
Yeah. that's-
in the entirety of Europe.
yeah.
yeah, there's probably no tornadoes there, but it reminds me a lot of like the conditions for a tornado is when the Tatzelwurm would show up, which
Or the summer in New England.
they look wormy at the bottom.
I mean, that's kind of just reptiles or worms. Like worms show up all this time, like after humidity or heat. Yeah.
That's true. Unlike worms, WORM, they like to bask in the sun and hibernate in the cold. Now we're going back to reptiles.
That's true.
Before we were saying worms, now no more.
Well, I'd like to just say right now there is a distinction between worms with a O and worms with a U.
Enlighten us.
Yes.
So worms are what you know, like you fish with them, they come up when it rains and everyone squishes them on the sidewalk. But a worm with a U is usually more reptilian. Like when we did Nessie, some of the things from the Nessie lore is attributed to worms as well.
Aha.
Yeah.
It's more reptilian, more snake or lizard-like.
It's kind of like it is the far left of a dragon.
Yes.
So you have worms that have no wings.
It's Bernie Sanders.
Or I think it's the Bernie Sanders of dragons. In the middle, you have the moderates with the wyverns.
You know what, honestly?
And
Really good way to break it down.
That actually is. Yeah.
yeah. And then on the far you have dragons,
With the
which
four
is like a for those that need like a representation in the game Skyrim. Those are all worms.
No, those are
Or the
wyverns.
Wyverns. They're all. Yeah, sorry, I fucked up.
Someday we'll cover all three of those.
Yeah. I'm so excited for
Yeah.
dragons.
That's going to be a big
So
I
the
fucking love dragons.
the wyverns have the wings on their arms.
Yes.
The worms, I believe, have none.
Well,
Definitely no wings.
we will get into that.
Like the Asian
Yes.
dragons.
Yeah, very similar. Very
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah, I would say definitely. So it makes hissing sounds. You would expect that from some kind of reptile.
And with a cat face.
They whistle, they snort, and they shriek. Could I get a
One of these
round
things
table
is
of
not like
shrieks?
the other.
No.
Can I get a round table of shrieks, please?
1,
No.
2, 3.
Yeah, I'm terrified. The lindworm.
That's a terrible verm.
They will either attack cattle. Now, here's a big difference between the worms and the dragons. It's one letter. Worms will attack cattle. Dragons will attack castle. So that's how you. They are also known to suck on them udders without permission.
Yeah, they'll-
because the cows can't give consent.
They just want to go and get that milky milk.
If cows could have given consent, we would not have dairy in the food groups.
Fair
like,
point.
period. I'm pretty sure no, unless there's like some horny cows.
There's probably horny cows.
Like the one in
just like
Family
probably
Guy.
Give me that milking machine. Oh, yeah.
They're also very aggressive. So on top of like sucking an udder, they'll also knife fight you. And I actually have several different I have several different daggers taken from a worm that I fought recently.
Do you think they'll knife fight you while suckling on the good milk?
Toria, these are some
think it
dedicated
depends.
creatures.
That would be a power fucking
Yeah.
move. Just right at the teat, you're just going, and then you just whip out a switchblade and start hitting a guy.
Back up.
Yeah,
It's my
I feel like it
my titty.
depends on the length.
my cow titty.
Definitely depends on the length. So if you got a 1 foot Tatzelwurm, probably not. Might hurt the cow.
True.
Now you're gonna get, strawberry milk because it's blood. A seltzer cocktail is what you'll get.
Oh my god.
Whereas at that 7 foot, now you have some range. You got some reach.
Oh yeah.
I would say the 7 foot Tetzelworms, the 7 foot Tetzelworms would probably knife fight you with those little back peats.
You got a point. Yeah. If it's 7 feet,
You gotta watch out for them.
If it's 7 foot, I'm giving it its space.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if you
Now,
see this thing
I've said-
suckling aggressively at a cow's teat.
Yeah,
Just probably you're gonna be like, I don't really want to get involved.
It's just
right
getting numbing up in there.
Just
Mine butter. What are you doing with mine butter juice?
Slaps the
Stop
udder
it.
enough that it churns in the.
Yeah, he slaps the bag.
Yeah.
the cat with the Tetzelwurm with the back paws is just playing with like a butterfly knife as it's just suckling.
Yeah, I like this thing.
Damn, I would
now.
not.
Things are hard motherfuckers.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
it's also said that as a part of behavior, you can lure a Tetzelwurm with a bag of Franzia. If you hang it from a dog.
I think
or-
once again you're mixing up Tatzelwurms and just all drunk college kids.
Yeah, I was gonna say this just sounds like a drunk college child.
Or aspiring drunk college kids.
No.
Aspiring?
No.
Aspiring
I'm not.
drunken college kid.
That's a different species.
How do you aspire to be a drunk college kid? Are you talking
By
about high
looking for the
schoolers?
Franzia.
Right now we
Right
are
now
talking
you're a
about
college
the
kid.
Tatzelwurm, not the Fratzelwurm.
Yeah.
Fratzelwurm.
Fratzelwurm.
is the college kid.
Fratzelwurm.
I'm picturing him with like a backwards hat.
hat, yeah.
Just like,
He's got a
Wearing his dad's
Still
polo.
still playing with the fucking butterfly knife, just like
Yeah.
who do you know here?
It's €5 to get in.
Your ratio is not good.
Now we've discussed the Lindworm, the Dazzleworm, the Pretzelworm, the Fretzelworm.
You ever open up a bag of pretzels and you're like, ah, shit, a pretzelworm.
Pretzelworm made it.
always.
No.
That's what I call
Schneider,
pretzel stick.
you did it again.
Schneider!
Schneider, I do not have enough mustard for this Pretzelworm.
Sounds
The Pretzelwurm just ate all of the mustard off
Licked
the
it right up
rest
out
of
of
the
the-
pretzels.
oh, you bastard. That's the best part.
The Heinz udders are just drained. So we've discussed all these different types of worms, and this is a tall order. We're at like the buffet of worms. Unfortunately, there are some similar cryptids.
There are some very similar.
I can see Joe. I'm looking at you right now. You look like a Tetzelworm sitting right in front of a nice bag of Franzia. So why don't you stop licking your lips on screen? Really fucked up, and if you can just say it.
Let's just need some chapstick. That's it. So there's actually two very similar cryptids that we'll mention just today. They're listed as either variations of the Tatzelwurm or as completely different cryptids with very similar traits. Unfortunately, we don't have a conclusion either way, but we did want to share the information with you so that you can make a more informed decision, instead of an uninformed decision like you were going to make before this.
As we like to do, prove the truth is stupid. It's up to you, listeners. We did our job. These guys showed up. I did a lot of fucking work for a while, and here we are, and we're going to record this tonight, and I'm going to do a lot of other fucking work, and these guys are going to just tell me about the other shit.
Does that count as a quit?
No.
The episode? Fuck.
No, that's just me letting the
he won't.
listeners know what the fuck is what.
Fair. So the cat-headed snake, which I am very pleased to be bringing to you, is a regional variant of the Tatzelwurm from Switzerland. So would you say that it is a regional variant of the Stollenwurm, perhaps?
With the cat-headed snake, you have the Stollenwurm, which is more closely tied to the Tatzelwurm. The cat-headed snake itself, as far as I could find, has only really been spotted in Switzerland, unless they use the term interchangeably.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So this cat-headed snake boy can be up to 7 feet long, which sounds, pretty consistent with what we've been saying. However, it is gray/black in coloration, with a head like a cat, so again, pretty similar, with a rigid back and no legs. No-leg cat snake.
You'll see going forward, the amount of legs is a big point of contention that we're going to get into.
Let me pose you this question.
Yes.
If if they can grow up to 7 feet long, and we've noticed in other descriptions that perhaps maybe the smaller ones are the babies. What if the no legs are like a tadpole type deal, where like maybe when they were seen as the cat-headed snake, they're the tadpole with no legs, and then the Tatzelwurm or the Stollenwurm is the frog.
So
version.
this shit grows to 7 feet long, and then all of a sudden one day the legs pop
It just
out.
poops legs.
That's a different mechanism.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, though, and I do like that idea that it could be intertwined.
Because I will say, this cat-headed snake, this one, behaves like the Tatzelwurm.
Doesn't act that different.
So,
It's true. It's true.
no legs, some legs, maybe they're just very large, land-dwelling tadpole snakes.
The only
Fair.
thing I have against the cat-headed snake is it is not a worm.
Got a point.
It is a snake.
If it has legs, it's not a worm, it's a drake.
Well, you also have to think about the fact that you're right,
Thank you.
but this is also a translation. This is a Swiss creature. Cat-headed snake would be a translation.
I get that. I get that. I'm just saying that, like, there's a distinction. I know them. I know these serpent boys.
Sam, close your eyes for me, please. Close your eyes.
They're closed.
Take a deep breath. Ready? Now you're factually correct. As far as Lord of the Rings, as far as Dungeons and Dragons goes, you're correct. Now shut the fuck up so we can get this episode going without your pedantic bullshit.
I'm just saying.
I know you're
It's
just
the
saying, and you're done
The people
just saying.
want to know.
They will know.
People want to know.
Join us on episode 174 and 936 when we cover the differences between the two. Mark it down. That's when it's happening.
Coming
Now,
to
if it's
you
a drake with horse-like
May
features,
2055.
It's called a Kieran.
We're done. All right, Sam, we're going to be talking about
Okay.
the Tatzelwurm. Okay? Sam, you're a great
Sam,
DM.
is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Get it out of your system.
Yes, I have 3 things I want to talk about.
Let's hear them.
First is the dart, which is a regional variant from East Central France. So I'm assuming, which is weird because Western France is not included, but France is included as a whole with like the Asarim or whatever. Arasis, the Asarim.
The Asarim.
The Asarim.
So
you like that name better.
The Asarim.
Now the dart has a cat-like head. Once again, it's got that puss face. Also, I have a point of that also, but
Sure.
4 legs, drake. A short tail, definitely a drake, not
Shut
a long
up.
arm. No, a mane down the entire back. So this thing's hairy.
It's got a mohawk.
It's got a mohawk. Now it doesn't say if it's got a short tail. It doesn't say how upright it is, because if it was fully upright and more of the mane makes me believe that this is not even a drake. This could be a Kieran, but
It's a horse.
I'm sorry. I just love this shit.
No, I really like the thing you're on here. I really
so
do.
There's like a whole like a water cycle of different worms,
Draconic
and
creatures.
things similar. Dracology,
Ecology. Yeah.
Sauroscience. Now the dart is not venomous, which is weird because it's called the dart.
That's a good point, honestly. I didn't think of that.
And I usually think of like poisonous dart. Nobody's just like, you hit me with a dart. It's poisonous. We've all seen Ace Ventura.
I don't know. I've been hit by a dart before that wasn't poisonous, and I was right mad still.
Yeah, no,
It still hurt.
It still wasn't a good day.
still just definitely not a pleasant thing to happen.
But it does have a powerful bite. So it's got the chompers. It's got the jaw. And it only makes a loud hiss. There's no whistling. There's no snorting. Of course, there's no shrieking. Just big hisses.
Of
But
course.
loves them udders. Loves them udders. Loves that that sweet milk. That milky milk. Now, I will say the other difference between the dart is it's always got a bag of like cornflakes with it, so that makes sense that it wants the milk. It's always bringing around this bag of cornflakes, just kind of like bump, 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 and then it sees a cow and it's like,
Oh, it turns to Tim Allen there for a second.
yeah, and it just kind of whittles all over.
Is Tim
Now,
Allen
similarly,
Dart?
Oh, no.
Tim Allen is a dart.
Gasp!
Smoking fucking darts. Now, I also want to bring up another similar serpent of lore, which I don't want to go too into because I feel like we could definitely have an episode about it.
Give us the overview, though.
Is the Quetzalcoatl, which is one of the main gods of the, Aztec, Toltec, just Mesoamerican religions.
Yeah, and Quetzal was also a character in Dragon Tales.
That's important.
That's true.
Yeah. He's the old man.
I believe not Quetzal, but I want to say Coatl means serpent
Mm-hmm.
in the language. So it makes sense. It is a feathered serpent, but it has a lot of the same attributes as the Tatzelwurm. It is not big on udders, because I don't think those existed. But I will say...
Wait, can
So
you back
Quetzalcoatl-
up that claim that udders didn't exist?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they figured out milk.
Another big thing about Quetzalcoatl is that they show up, they were a god of wind, air, and learning, and things to come. I added the last bit. But it wore a necklace around its neck that looked a lot like a hurricane from a conch shell.
Oh.
Now, hurricanes, wind is more arid, but we might have like an opposite Tatzelwurm, and because there's the Tatzelwurm and the Quetzalcoatl, I think it's weird because they're from two different societies completely.
Well, Sam,
but they sound similar.
do you want to get into that shit?
Not yet. We'll get into it.
I
know. I want to.
It.
I want to, but we have a full episode. A full episode full of fun things. So
Just
let me
saying,
just,
our reptilian overlords are hiding in plain sight.
just think about that. Think about the Quetzalcoatl and the Tetzelcoatl.
Think about your masters.
And the Quetzalwurm and the Tetzelwurm.
Johnny, the shirt stays on.
The shirt has not lifted up yet.
Is on.
I'm restraining myself.
No.
I'm holding back the
He's
power.
trying to.
See, this kid's puffing on the jewel like it's going out of style.
It is.
Yeah. I will say the Quetzalcoatl is a derivative of the Verm. Just in general, dragons. On top of that, now we went across the ocean. Now time to go across the street, go into the library. In the Silmarillion, they have the book The Children of Hurin, and that is done by, of course, J.R. Tolkien. So, the original father of dragons in The Children of Hurin is called Glaurung, which, much like the Tetzelwurm, is a flightless worm.
Huh.
Bigger, of course, because it's Tolkien, and I think if anybody thought this was real, then they'd be like, well, that's bad.
True.
So I think Glaurung is like the size of a fucking hill. But still. So you can see worms in a lot of popular mythology and also a lot of other countries and whatnot.
Sure, for sure. So we're gonna be moving along here. As I mentioned, there is very contested parts of the description, which kind of makes identifying and distinguishing the Tatzelwurm a little difficult. So we're going to cover that, and we're going to cover accounts that back up the assertions of the different variations. And I'm going to start here. Let's talk about the face shape. We've talked a lot about a cat-shaped face. Now, some reports specifically recall a cat-shaped head, and I'd like to make the distinction. They're not saying they copy and pasted a cat's face onto a lizard. It's just a cat-like face. It's kind of like when you watch a movie and it's like, oh, that guy looks like this other actor. It's not quite, though. It's close, but it's the first thing your mind comes to.
Kind of like how Toothless looks like a cat, but he's a dragon.
Exactly. That's a very good comparison.
Or, sorry.
Go for it.
Once again in mythology, you also have Pusscat Mew.
Ooh.
No, not Pusscat Mew. Shit, what's it called?
Pusscat Mew.
I don't think it's Pusscat Mew.
That doesn't seem like a real name.
It is, though.
In mythology?
Wait, that's not just something that you guys say?
It is because
No, it's actually a story. It's actually a
Oh,
story.
I had no idea. I thought it was just you guys.
Yeah.
I forget what story it is, but there's a story that if you feed a dragon, if you domesticate a dragon, it turns into a cat.
Yes.
If you give a dragon a cookie, it's gonna want a glass of milk.
That's basically
Exactly.
the exact
Now you-
story.
Yeah, it's pretty much that story.
Actually,
Now-
honestly, that's an interesting way to look at it, is that this is an almost domesticated dragon. Let's keep that thought in mind as we go along.
Let's think on that.
But in other accounts, they don't make a distinction that it has a cat face. They don't talk about it. But in those same sorts of stories, they regard the creature as a whole as lizard or serpent-like, which to me, as I'm reading this stuff, indicates that some sightings I feel like if I saw a lizard with a cat-like head, I'd say lizard with a cat-like head. Some of these may just simply be a more reptilian-like head.
It could also be kind of like that, like smushed in nose, because I think
That's true. The blunt head they
Like-
describe.
yeah, like African wildcats that now you have the Persian cat from.
That's true.
I want to say were probably available or more seen commonly than I think another thing with a flat face, which would be the pug, which I think was brought over to Austria later.
Yeah, that
I don't-
was a Chinese dog.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I want to say the Tatzelwurm is much older.
Oh, much older. But as I mentioned earlier, the number of legs is possibly the most contested part of the Tatzelwurm lore.
Now, because I'm the leggy boy right now,
You're a leggy man.
I gotta get on this. There are some stories with no legs, and these are my favorites, and that is what I identify as a worm. After you have, if you have 2 legs in the front,
Wyvern.
you are, well, no, 2 legs in the front, no wings,
Wyvern.
is a lindworm. Which I want to say the name counts for the Tatzelwurm.
Fair.
Lindworm does.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, so it could actually be a lindworm, not a true worm. But I have some stories about it being a true blue worm. In the 17th century of Switzerland, Johann and Thomas Tenner were on Mount Fromsen in Alsace, Switzerland. The locals have been complaining about cows' udders being mysteriously sucked dry. Which, goddamn Johann and
Good
Thomas.
suck.
Johann and Thomas are like underneath the cow, and they're like, I'm not getting much. They're at the end of the Capri Sun of this cow's udder. They're like, it's nothing. It's nothing. The pouch is dry.
This saggy, wrinkly udder. They're like, I can't get nothing, Johann.
It's all dust, Johann.
Milk dust.
It's all just milk dust, Johann. They all they really wanted to do is, much like the Capri Sun commercial, turn into a bad CGI waterman. Now, Johann and Thomas killed a 7-foot, that's the record, long snake-like creature with a blackish-gray body and a cat-like head.
What the fuck?
After the creature was killed, the complaints of udder sucking, which big complaint. You got top 5 complaints. You got taxes,
Terror.
weather, road quality, terrorism,
Highwaymen.
dry udders. Dry udders.
Dry udders.
No, highwaymen is 6.
I was a highwayman.
But I
Highwaymen
But we-
and
we-
surf
Along the
and
coast
surf.
we
roads
prefer to-
I did ride.
we prefer to call them state troopers. We do not call them highwaymen anymore. Now, unfortunately, we don't have any stories about a worm with 1 leg because it only has a 3-inch girth. No one cares about his 1 leg.
Oh my god.
But we got stories about 2 legs.
So the first story was in the 17th century when Johannes Egger. Is that right? Egger?
That's fine.
Either way, he's a 70-year-old man. He's pretty much at the end of it anyway.
Yeah, especially in the 17th century.
He saw a dragon.
Oh, no!
Huge head and 2 counted 2 forelimbs.
Those are front limbs.
Those are front limbs, forelimbs, for anyone wondering. Those are the limbs in the front.
17th century Sam came up to him and was like, actually, that's a worm.
So actually,
A lindworm.
And he shoved up his fucking duct-taped nerd glasses.
Sam, you're the cryptid Neil deGrasse Tyson.
yeah, fuck you.
Yeah.
So Johannes...
I'm making a beer.
Actually, the new year doesn't matter.
Actually,
Astrologically.
that's not correct.
That's Neil deGrasse Tyson's personality
That's
summed up.
100%. If he didn't have such a soothing
He's also
fucking
just a
voice.
dick.
Actually, if you look at the sun and the planets, it doesn't matter when we celebrate.
See, that's why it's good. His voice
Eat my
is so
ass, Neil deGrasse
great.
Tyson. You know goddamn well why it matters.
So Johannes did the only logical thing that you would do when you see a dragon with a huge head and 2 forelimbs. He went up to it and was like, "Hey baby, what's up?"
Tatzelwurm.
It's cryptid.
It's cryptid.
And this
Sucked his udders.
and this motherfucker just looks at him and he goes, "Oh, this little man is gonna get it." And its breath made him feel all sorts of dizzy, but gave him a wicked bad headache.
You gave him all the worst parts of
It's
drunk.
probably because he sucked his udder dry. It's probably where the headache came
I think
from.
it was dry to begin with.
It was
Oh,
It was so
gross ass,
dry.
like milk mouth. He had that like phlegmy milk mouth. That's like.
No, I was saying the Tatzelwurm sucked his dick.
There's no udders mentioned, and you're making it dirty.
I was gonna say udders and pee-pee are not the same thing, Toria. No, what? What do you mean? There's no discussion there.
Kidding!
There's no discussion. There's a difference
Not.
between the udder and the pee-pee.
For the second
Yes, I understand that. It was a joke.
For the second time in history, we have all the peepees and all the udders that have ever been on the show represented, and you just have to go ruin it.
so like, what was this guy Johannes trying to do that he got so close to it that he was like, "Oh, this fucking breath."
Dude, he's just trying to go for a hike.
He wanted to mouth kiss a dragon.
Yeah, right. In the 17th century, a 70-year-old man is doing anything but dying.
Dude, I think
Get
the
real.
only
Have
time.
you
Yeah,
met
right.
Sam?
Yeah, right.
Because I
Yeah,
feel
real.
like Sam would go up to a dragon and try to mouth kiss it at 70
Johannes
years
is
old.
like, mein wife. I haven't seen her in so long.
He says-
And then this dragon's like, oh.
He is a Swiss man in the Alps in his 70s, in the 1600s. In the 1600s. Do you think he got there by not taking risks like that? By just sitting in his home and never moving? This man's up there in the mountain air, tongue-kissing every flora and fauna he comes across.
Deer, trees, squirrels, fish, snow, everything.
A 70-year-old man in the 1600s is an anomaly. I think the 70-year-old man is stranger
You're
than
doing
this
that
giant dragon.
bullshit. You're doing that bullshit.
Yeah, that's
where it's like,
the
there's no
point.
70-year-olds because everyone died at 16. That's not how statistics work.
No. That's definitely not how statistics work. I'm just saying it was probably a statistical outlier that someone made it to 70 years old and is hiking a fucking mountain while tongue-kissing dragons.
I'm just saying, he's a Swiss hero.
multiple dragons.
Swiss hero, and we're going to let him be with this because he
Johannes Egerter, you goddamn Swiss hero.
didn't have a good day after this, so let's give him a goddamn break.
All right, how the fuck do you get down from that mountain?
He just kind of stumbled his way.
Just rolled
They
down
didn't
it.
have any like 16th century Motrin, so he lived with that headache for a while.
He probably had some grass or something to mouth kiss, mouth tongue.
No. Okay. Are you telling me that
Can
when
we
you have
move
a headache, Joey? When you have a headache, Joey, you're just like, I'm gonna do some grazing.
Can we please move
My
on?
head doesn't feel good. Let me try the crab grab.
Probably 1/3 of the time, yeah.
So on a slightly less sexual note.
No.
This is the penis fish. It's very
This is a-
similar.
That is, to make it a less sexual note, is your decision and your decision only.
Fair. That's yeah.
I know. Back in ye old July of 1883 or 1884, a certain Caspar Arnold was on the Spielberg in Austria. I'm not sure what the Spielberg is.
Oh, you know what
other
the Spielberg
than
is.
the
It's a
director.
mountain. I feel like
Cinematic
Is it a
genius.
I feel like it's pretty fucking obvious when it says it's in the Alps. It only likes the mountains, and all of these are fucking mountains in the Alps. That it would be a mountain.
It's a child.
Are you done yelling at me?
Never.
Okay. Anyways, so Mr. Mr. Arnold was on the Spielberg, which is a mountain in Austria, where he watched a Tatzelwurm cavort and caper around for about 20 minutes while he sat comfortably in a mountain restaurant, and he was certain.
Sipping on coffee. And you know what? To this day, he was certain it had only 2 legs. It's actually on his gravestone. It says here lies.
So motherfucking Casper is the only one in this restaurant looking up down while he's sucking on some delicious dark coffee, and he looks outside and he's like, "Would you look at the size of that thing with 2 legs?"
I will say,
legs. Actually, on his gravestone, there is a carving of the Tatzelwurm with just 2 legs on it.
that would be sick.
A bottle of red.
And I gotta say, I've spent
a bottle of white.
I've spent me some time staring out of windows. And if I was staring out a window and I saw a strange creature going, I wouldn't be like, "Hey guys, come look at this. You're going to scare it away." And I would definitely just sit there observing it, being like, it's got 2 legs.
It's like, fuck.
This thing's running around like a little playful boy, and it's only got 2 legs. That's noteworthy.
One time I saw 2 bear cubs run through my yard, and then I had to call animal control.
Well, that'll happen. I watched a squirrel do inverted sit-ups.
Oh, it was training.
Badass.
No,
You do live next to Julian Edelman.
That's
so.
a fair point. No, I was staring out my window and I was just looking at the tree. That's kind of what I do for about 8 hours a day. And I saw the squirrel and I'm like, "Oh shit, he's having trouble getting up because he's hanging by his feet and he keeps reaching up." And he does that for about 20 minutes. I realized, no, this squirrel is fucking bulking. He's not actually having trouble. If he wanted to get up from there, he would.
Hey, survival of the fittest.
He was the fittest.
Yeah, CrossFit.
He was easily the fittest squirrel I have ever seen.
Now, you want to talk about a squirrel leaping 9 feet in the air?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I got something for you.
Oh.
Although it's not a squirrel, it's kind of like a long squirrel.
No.
And it has 2 legs. A Tatzelwurm once leapt 9 feet through the air towards 2 witnesses in Salzburg, Austria.
It's a hell of a long jump.
The witnesses don't have fun names, so...
We can't joke.
But they claimed it had 2 legs. It was gray in color. Now we're in the middle ground. 2 to 3 feet long. And it did have the head of a cat, so we got one in Austria.
It was a baby one.
That's adolescent. That's the Charmeleon of Tatzelwurm.
It was a shitty teen.
So they leap, they run around and play, and they make men sick. And this one's a pretty recent sighting. In the summer of 1969, an anonymous man, he chose to be anonymous, but he was a local man in Trentino Alto Adige, Italy, saw a 30-foot long, what did we decide it was, Linguini serpentis?
Yeah.
Yep.
It was 30 inches long with 2 hind legs, and it appeared to be inflating its neck, which I interpreted it as like getting that breath ready. Kind of like, you see in movies, dragons kind of rev up their breath a little. I think it's kind of like that if this thing has the poison breath, some claim. And I'd like to make a note that Eggerter, back in the 17th century, claimed it had 2 forelimbs, and this Italian friend said it had 2 hind limbs. Now that's a big difference, despite it being the same number of legs, is where they're placed. So let's upgrade here, because many stories, at least some, a good number, we got one to tell you, have 4 legs.
Oh, and now these ones with 4 legs are just quite a doozy. In 1660, on Mount Wangerbanger in Switzerland.
Vongersburg.
Yeah, that's not even close to what I said.
No, Wangerbanger's fine.
I like that name better.
We'll go for Wangerbanger.
Thank you. So,
No, Wangerbanger is just an EDM concert.
That's true.
sounds very accurate, actually. Andreas Rodner saw a 4-legged cat-faced dragon with bristles down its back like a boar. The beast reared on its hind legs, making it the height of a man.
So 6 feet-ish.
Yeah, just about. Although in 1660, it's probably like 5'5".
5 to 6 feet.
Yeah, between 5 and 6
So
feet.
my height.
So about the right, about in the upper, reach of the average height.
Yeah, so it's got 4 legs in this one. It's just
That definitely makes it more fearsome
More.
if it goes up on its hind legs and still has front ones.
yeah, that's a lot scarier.
It's like bears. If bears only had hind legs and stood up like that, no one would really care.
That'd be so funny.
No one would really care.
Nah, absolutely not. Plus, you could outrun them.
But along with the lore, there's actually an alternative hypothesis proposed, And this one comes from someone who, in the world of specifically Swiss folklore and, that whole area, it was a 19th century folklorist named Johann Rudolf Weiss. And he wrote about the Tatzelwurm, or to him, the Stollenwurm. And just some fun facts about this man. First of all, he wrote the lyrics to what used to be the Swiss national anthem.
Oh, no way.
Not only
That's
that,
cool.
his father wrote the famous book, The Swiss Family Robinson. And
Oh, shit.
Johann edited it. So this isn't just a guy, he has some serious credits.
a big boy.
He's done a lot. And he also, in the 19th century, he was a folklorist. He spent a lot of time recording and analyzing the folklore of his home country. And he wrote that while the dragon is fabulous, the Stollenwurm, or the Tatzelwurm, is dubious, doubtful.
Ah.
So he had his doubts about it. But he did add some notes from, I don't know where he got this information, but this is what he wrote about it. He added that some are said to be hairy and have multiple legs, many legs, like a caterpillar would.
What?
Just,
Huh.
So that's a salamander.
yeah. Well, no, salamanders still have four legs.
4 limbs.
But in dragon lore,
Okay.
Oof. Oh,
That's-
God. Oy vey.
I will go ahead and say like a caterpillar was a fair comparison. But he also wrote that there's 2 distinct variations of the Tatzelwurm. One of those being a rarer one that is white colored and it wears a little crown. Or maybe it doesn't wear it. Maybe it's like a little growth on its head, but evidently it's the King Tatzelwurm. And more common, there are black ones.
the modest yahoos.
Yeah, the modest yahoos. And more common, there are
with no crown.
the thing is, I feel like the rare ones, those ones don't have to worry about camouflage for whatever reason. Maybe they're the big honchos around. Everyone knows not to fuck with them. But all I'm seeing is the dear, sweet cat that I lived with in Vermont that my housemate, mine and Sam's housemate, Vicky, stole from me. Sweet, white, long-haired Gandalf. I loved that cat
The
to
cat
death.
that was originally hers.
And it was beautiful. And
Not yours.
now I have the more common...
It was not originally hers.
It was not originally John's, is all I'm saying.
It's mine in my heart.
Who really owns?
But now...
who really owns a Gandalf?
Now I have the more
You don't.
common black cat, Crowley, who I still love, but... All right now, folks. We're going to play us a game here tonight with the Tatzelwurm. There's a big question hanging in the air. We covered the legs, and it really doesn't fucking matter in the end. But as far as how this thing is going to damage you, we have one question to ask. Poisonous, venomous, or vicious?
All of the above.
I say delicious.
So, depending on the source, the Tatzelwurm is either venomous, poisonous, or simply has a vicious bite.
Ooh.
Some report it has a poisonous breath that can cause various kinds of discomfort, but can even be fatal. Now, we talked about the guy back in the 17th century. He got dizzy and sick.
Johann was like,
Yeah.
none of that.
Maybe he just got a whiff of it. Maybe if he went and tongue-kissed it, not so good.
So I'm thinking there's a fourth option, and that's delicious.
I'm not done yet. I'm
Poisonous?
not done yet.
Fine.
Some report that it has a venomous bite, power enough to kill a man instantly.
Instantly.
That's pretty intense.
The Tatzelwurm don't fuck around like that.
Bites you and you're fucking dead.
Who would have thought the Swiss monster would be more fucking hardcore? Others say it isn't poisonous or venomous at all, but rather just a vicious predator with a strong bite and sharp teeth, like an alligator.
So, let's get into poison breath. So, do y'all remember Johannes Eggeter, who also reported that the breath of the Tetzelwurm that he allegedly saw made him sick? That could have been poisonous breath.
Now, there are descriptions where it has a venomous bite. However, I couldn't find any stories about it, but it appears enough in the descriptions itself that it's worth including into this, that it's a possibility.
So there is there are stories with the Tatzelwurm having a very powerful bite, which in this case is a regional variant of the Tatzelwurm from France, which is the dart or the Arasus.
Arasus.
Arasus. I feel like that's such a Texas way of saying it. Arasus.
I don't know
I
that...
mean,
Arasa. I don't know. Fuck it. Anyway, so it's not venomous or poisonous, but it has an extremely powerful bite. So like when that bites you, you're like, snake. You're like, damn, that hurt. So like at that point, it's not like, it's not like I'm gonna die. It's like, snake, and the snake's like, Joe. So while these things are really cute, it bites you and it poisons you and whatever. There's something a little more hardcore that I want to focus on here. A little something I like to call acid blood.
Acid
So
blood.
bad.
Acid blood.
But wait, there's more.
Someone should put in some sick double like bass drums here, like.
We should do a quick run through of the Tatzelwurm as Billy Mays.
Billy Mays here with
little
a
late.
fantastic new cryptid.
Billy Mays here with another fantastic new cryptid. The Tatzelwurm. The Tatzelwurm.
Hey!
Are your udders too full? The Tatzelwurm will suck them dry. Oh no, are you worried about how many legs it has? Don't worry. It has no legs. It has 2 legs. It has 4 legs. It has many legs. But wait, there's
It has
more.
customizable legs.
It might have poisonous breath. It might have venomous breath. It might just bite you real good. It depends on what's in your jug of Tatzelwurm. But wait!
But
there's more!
for this limited time
There's
offer,
more!
for $14.95, we can actually include it with acid blood. You have too much
Acid blood.
You have too much OxyClean around. You want to give it a good challenge? Acid blood.
But wait, there's more!
So acid blood. Some stories claim that the blood of the Tatzelwurm is extremely acidic and corrosive. So for instance, a father and his son were out gathering herbs. The father heard the son shout and noticed him staring at a rock, paralyzed in fear. The father looked closer and saw a Tatzelwurm under the rock. The father stabbed the creature, and green blood spurted out and onto the father's leg, which badly burned his fucking leg.
Oh no!
Well, that'll teach him to attack
It's
creatures
not
that
the
are posing
worst.
no harm.
Hey, he's looking at his son funny. He's gonna stab him just like he did with that creepy man of the subway.
And his wife.
This seems more like a fable than an actual account, but it's interesting insight into the folklore nonetheless.
Is it possible that like this thing just has like a corrosive additive to like it's not just its blood but like saliva and everything, and that's why like it can breathe?
Tatzelwurm, now with an added corrosive fucking blood.
Yeah, they can that.
I'm cool
Oh,
with
like
that.
the thing that spat in Newman's face
Yeah,
in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Newman.
I like that theory. I like that theory because this cryptid, I wouldn't say it's all loose ends, but it's open for interpretation after hundreds of years of folklore.
And on top of that, what if the corrosive glands on this creature, which no matter what has a powerful bite, but when you get that when you get that venomous breath, when you get the venomous breath or the poisonous breath or the venomous bite, you don't really notice the fact that it just crunched your leg off.
You got a fair point.
Maybe it's numbing.
You're
So
poisoned.
so you're saying it's almost an anesthetic.
Well, I'm saying it might be something to deal with a male or female chromosome. What if it's a sex-linked gene?
That's a good point.
What if the corrosiveness is sex-linked? Because now we can band them all together and it all makes sense.
That is a really good point.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, different genders of different species have, like, it's sex-linked. It's not all the same
I definitely
thing.
want to dive into what you're saying. Hold on to that because we have room for it to discuss that later on. But for now,
Someone write that down.
I would like to discuss, there is actually, compared to a lot of shit we talk about here, some evidence for the Tatzelwurm.
Some evidence, perhaps like photographer named Balkan from the Switzerland place taking a sweet photo near Meiringen, Switzerland. That was a toughie.
It's a little difficult.
A couple vowels in there.
Claims to have photographed a Tatzelwurm. It's really cool. Definitely does not fit most of the descriptions that we've discussed here, however. The photo is mostly considered to be a fake by now, and is actually a picture of a ceramic fish.
It's at the very best just a standard, like, weird lizard. Think of it as the surgeon's photo. What's the surgeon's photo is to Nessie.
Yeah.
This is to the Tatzelwurm.
In the 1990s, two naturalists found a weird skeleton of a lizard-like creature in the Alps near Domodossola, Italy. They claimed it was a Tatzelwurm. John, do you have it? Were there any pictures? Or?
I couldn't find more information than that. As far as I could...
I would have hoped they would have taken
As far
pictures.
as I could tell, its scientific significance was immediately like, nah, you just like smashed bones together or something. It was pretty much immediately discredited, and it just wasn't given much interest past that. But these guys did say that they found Tatzelwurm bones.
So people are still talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
today.
Oh, absolutely. And Joe's about to tell us
I mean,
about
we're doing it right now.
a more recent one, which actually does have photos of what we're discussing.
In that long, long time ago in the year 2000, a strange skeleton was sent to the Geneva Institute of Science along with a sizable cash donation.
Undisclosed the amount, though, but
undisclosed
reportedly
amount.
sizable.
So they were like, hey, check out this skeleton. Here's a shit ton of cash. This isn't sketchy at all.
Basically, yes.
Some scientists consider this to be actual evidence of Tatzelwurm. The donor still remains anonymous, and it's unclear as to why it was donated to the Geneva Institute of Science specifically. Sounds like there's a little bit of an agenda to push with that one.
All around, it's a fishy story, and there's a lot of directions you could run with that. I feel like we actually haven't had a chance to delve into this kind of discussion in a while, and that's the possible explanations as to what this could be, as far as what's recognized as real right now.
Things that could be real. Honestly, I've been thinking about the Loch Ness Monster a lot when thinking back to this one, just because there's a couple of similarities, only like the main difference being like location, location.
In the whole...
Yeah. That's, I mean...
It doesn't seem to be amphibious.
Yeah,
No, it doesn't seem to be amphibious, but if you think about like the different pieces of evidence that has come around,
it's
obviously
similar,
one gets a lot more traction than the other.
for sure.
So with the Tatzelwurm, I don't actually have anything immediately in my mind as to what it could possibly be, other than what we've just outlined here.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that interests me is how viable this is as a potential species. There's nothing magic about this. There's nothing sinister. It behaves like an animal that doesn't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
But if I were to attribute it to any creature that like we specifically see and know of, obviously a snake or a lizard is the number one. And that just depends on the number of legs that you're recognizing, and that just depends on whose story you believe the most.
Now I will say, it sounds like more often than not the two legs is like the one to go with.
Yeah, definitely.
But going back to what I said about sex-linked genes, there is a type of viper that is venomous that studies have been... There's not many studies going on sex-linked venoms, but it's possible that all these different, like the bite, the poison, the venom, they could all be the same species. For sure. If you look at the Bothrops mugini, which is also called the Brazilian lancehead viper, the venoms of males and females are completely different.
Really?
The females excrete more venom, but it's not as powerful. Whereas the male excrete less venom, but it is more powerful.
That's fascinating, and that brings to light, I don't mean to take away from your point, but that brings to light, just as a concept with cryptozoology, there is a zoological aspect to a lot of it. It's not just thinking about Bigfoot. Like, this thing, with the sex-linked traits and everything, that's something that happens in nature all the time.
Always. Another good example is scorpions. I believe it's the opposite. Female scorpions produce less venom, but it's worse. Whereas the males produce more venom, but it's easier to cure. And I could definitely see, although the niches of the Alps in Germany and that area aren't entirely different, they might be different enough that they need to do different things. This thing could be real. This is not that crazy. You also have a very lifelike version of this, the Gila monster.
There's the Gila monster, but in the Alps itself, there's alpine salamanders, there's what's called pear lizards. I believe there's something called the pearl lizard as well. It's not like, to me, the Alps, I think of like snowy like mountains and everything, but the reality is they have seasons just like anywhere else, and they have a variety of animals there just like anything else.
Also, like weasels. The Tatzelwurm kind of sounds like a very long weasel. Do ferrets live in the wild? Because I know that ferrets and weasels aren't the same thing.
They do, but I don't believe they're in the Alps.
Oh, because I was gonna say, like, a cat-like head. Like, I lived with 3 ferrets for a year, and they have fairly cat-like faces.
There's definitely something to be said about the weasel or ferret theory.
They ain't got wings.
They don't got wings, neither do ferrets, weasels, or snakes, lizards.
Yeah. Thank you for that astute observation, Joe.
Case closed.
I'm going to conclude, personally, in my mind, this was real. These people saw this. They might not have reported it right. They might not have taken down the specifications correctly, but I believe that something like this existed.
Something that's 7 feet long is very long.
It's very long.
So that's when I got to think, like, if someone saw something out of the ordinary that might have been a little bit scary, that's when you're like, must have been like 7 feet long.
Oh, yeah, it's the classic fishing story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could have seen the thing. It was a friggin' mile long.
If it's reported as having such a dark colored coat, maybe these sightings happened, where the animal happened to be in a shadow and it made it seem longer.
That's a fair point, too.
That's absolute, yeah.
I personally discredit the whole weasel or mammalian thing just because its behavior, where it hibernates it basks in the sun, it hangs out after humidity, like times when it's inclement weather.
But it suckles at the teat of cows.
That's a good point. That's
a distinctly mammalian feature.
That is true. I like that.
I'm going to get more bizarre with this. What if this is a surviving remnant of evolution stuck between the gap between mammalian and reptilian?
I like that.
That long ago?
Not
maybe?
Suited to survive, but it's in the alpine regions. There's clearly, at least were, resources to sustain its life, which likely have changed in the years since, which is why the sightings have dwindled.
Could have died.
It could be extinct.
Died. Yeah.
But that's something we got to think about in cryptozoology. Technically, we say in science there's millions of insects we've yet to discover. What are those other than cryptids?
And there were dinosaurs. When we found the bones of those, people were like, no way.
I mean, think about the platypus.
The platypus is a great example because that was a cryptid until literally what happened was they discovered the platypus. They told people back in England, they're like, bullshit. They had to send platypus furs back to England where they had taxidermists inspect it looking for stitches because they're like, no fucking way is this real. There's countless examples of animals that we once thought, mountain gorillas. We accept those as a fact now, but until we found a real mountain gorilla, that was just a story that tribes were telling the colonists in Africa.
You know what, guys? What if the Tatzelwurm is related to the platypus? Platypi are venomous? Or poisonous? They're one of the two. They have a dark brown coat.
But they lay eggs.
That's true, but
they're the only mammal that lays eggs.
But we have no telling of how these reproduce.
That's
Let's
true.
see.
Or how they
Damn it.
really eat, for that matter.
I believe that I will say there is a term for like that gap between the mammal and reptile. They're called synapsids.
That makes synapsids.
Synapsids. That is a thing, and if we can say, casting doubt aside, that Nessie could be the remnant of an old pliosaur, plesiosaur, which we already said was silly, but it could be. Then there's no reason not to think that this could be the remnants of an old synapsid.
I agree, and I mean,
no,
it's our tagline, and we haven't referenced it a ton lately, but this is an excellent example of where the truth is stupid, because the truth about the platypus is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
So I guess what we could say overall about this is it's very viable, and frankly, I mean, we talked about Goatman and demons for a while now, so we haven't had the chance to really discuss something that could be a real animal, and it's exciting to see that. Of all the things we've covered, I think this is the most likely to be a real animal.
Oh,
or at least was.
I definitely think so.
And that's just I don't know. That's something I'd like to put out to you guys and the listeners. Some of these mysteries could very well just be exaggerations in an actual animal. I'm excited to have an episode end with our tagline, "The truth is stupid." This could very well be just another example of the stupid truth coming through, and it's lost to time at this point.
The truth is ambiguous.
It's pretty fucking impressive when folklore doesn't exaggerate into extravagance. Well, that was the Tatzelwurm. We did conclude that might have been real.
Shit could be real.
Shit can be real. Nature gets fucking weird. And we want to, once again, formally thank all our listeners. I'm humbled and happy so many of you enjoyed the Beelzebub episode and the episodes about the demons. We had a lot of fun covering those, and keep on listening because we got weird shit to show you. And I'd specifically like to shout out Trenton Nisbet, because you have been posting on our Facebook, which admittedly we aren't super active on, which we're working on. And you post some really funny comments. You clearly listen to the show and you give us some references. It's fucking hilarious. We love hearing what you have to say, even if we're not reaching out to you right now, which again, we're trying to do more of.
We love you, Trenton.
Thanks for listening. Thanks all of you for listening. And also shout out Pat Nestor. Shout out Pat Nestor.
Shout out to Pat Nestor.
I love you, Pat Nestor.
Hello,
You're a
Nestor.
beautiful boy.
Have my
You're a great
child.
man.
Also, Charlie.
God rest your podcasting soul, Charlie. We'll get you back someday.
Possibly.
If anybody out there has any spooky stories they'd like to share, it doesn't have to be cryptid related. If you'd like to share your spooky stories with us, we'd love to read them aloud in an episode. So give us your stories so we can read them back to you, because that's pretty exciting.
So don't forget, if you have local cryptids in your area and you want to let us know about them, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes while you're at it. We do love reading those reviews. We love seeing the numbers go up. It is a fun game for all of us that you are all helping us out in. Now, I will say, if we get enough people reviewing and everything, we'd love to be able to shout you guys out at the end of an episode. So leave those stars there, huh?
Also, if you want to hear us to say some dumb shit, just write down what you want us to say. We'll read it.
Yeah, we're whores like
I'll
that.
I'll definitely read it. Yeah, I'll definitely, especially if your name and comment are dumb. I would prefer that, actually.
Make it fucking dumb.
Have you guys shouted out my friend Dion?
Seems like you're doing it right now.
Shout out to you, Dion.
Hell
Thanks
yeah,
for
shout out to
listening
Dion.
almost since like day one.
If you haven't yet, follow us on Twitter at Truth is Stupid. Just Truth is Stupid. No articles there.
They wouldn't give us the.
However, if you follow us on Instagram and Facebook, you can follow us at The Truth is Stupid. We are good enough on Instagram and Facebook to have the article there.
I spoke to Mark, and he said, if you want to hand me a couple of those Zucker bucks, we'll get you the.
Once again, Sam brings up our reptilian overlords on this episode. I'm John Cannon.
I'm Joe McGlinchey.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Toria.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Beast of the Week, and we'll be back at you next week with another weirdo to discuss.